Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4. We've got there on the road to Del Mar. Loads of action to catch up on, but the big question as we introduce on this show a special mystery guest, who trains in a stable like this? Hello everyone, I'm Matt Chapman and we are at the home of 11 times Breeders' Cup hero, Charlie Appleby. Yes, the mastermind behind the Godolphin operation. If you're just thinking, Charlie who? Go back just about 12 months, Speedogate.
Charlie! Charlie! Anyone see Charlie Appleby, Godolphin? Absolutely nowhere.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Chappers is out for revenge. You'd be right. When Charlie got my phone call, he thought, OMG. Right, got to go and find him first. He's been a little bit aloof. So while I go and settle myself down with the great man that I like to call the app, let's just reflect on 5 winning you're in races from the Irish Champions weekend.
They're up, and it is Mount Kilimanjaro with swooping to the front, Delacroix. It is Delacroix on his way to the Royal Bahrain Irish Champion Stakes. Fallen Angel is strongly pressed by Exactly. As they race up towards the finish, it is Fallen Angel from Exactly. They're going to the line. Fallen Angel! A sizable advantage over Hardy Warrior, a boy named Susie and Neil Boa Gondua. Benvenuto Cellini couldn't be any more impressive in the KPMG Champions Juvenile. All of Aidan O'Brien's 3 driving finish, and Precise has cut them down. Precise extends winning ways on the Moidlair. Bucanero Fuerte, Night Eyes next up towards the finish. Arizona Blaze bounces back in the flying 5.
I'm all for the Breeders' Cup. I love the Breeders' Cup. You know, it's one of my goals to get as many horses to the Breeders' Cup. And when it's winning, you're in. And so they take you for free. It's even better.
Aidan is known for his crazy driving at Alidor, right? And it appears that you are 2 peas in a pod.
Just on the driving side.
Yeah. When you said take some extra insurance out for this shift, I now know why. So Charlie, facilities-wise, I think I'm right in saying we've got private grass, an all-weather gallop, swimming pool, equine spa, covered ride. Is it a case almost that if you needed it, it would be here the next day?
No. Look,
Isn't it?
This has been an estate that has been developed into a training establishment, and this was once upon a time a racetrack. It was back in 1958. It might have been the last time a race was ran here. It's well established now, and we feel that we've got every facility that's needed. We've got the grass gallops, we've got synthetic gallops, we've got a wood chip here, we've got straight gallops, we've got turning gallops. So for a private facility, you know, bar there being the public there on the sidelines to be able to see these horses, the horses have got everything that's needed.
With yourself, it's well documented, you've got this extraordinary career. I mean, there are books in this, from travelling head lad to the chief of Godolphin training. Do you ever look out at this and just think, this is crazy?
To be honest with you, Matt, no, I don't, is the honest answer. And I just think because it's just developed so, dare I say it, naturally. Yeah, you know, and I've been with Godolphin now in on to nearly 30 years now, so it's been my life. His Highness Mum has taught me through the years of just keep a level head, nice and steady, hand on the tiller. It doesn't get you anywhere. If something goes wrong and you start, you know, throwing your toys out the pram and, you know, jumping around, stomping, and it's happened. That moment's happened. You just got to look at it, address it, and how to correct that next time round. And likewise when you win. Nath, okay? All right, Colt.
Do you have a principle of training? Is there a one way, or is every horse so different?
It's like you going to the gym, Matt, you know, back in the day. But no,
it doesn't exist.
Your gym, if you have a gym instructor, he'll set a program out for you. You'll set your own program out of, you know, how you'll feel by the end of that exercise. Is it too much or is it too little? If you're feeling, you know, the next day fantastic, you have to question mark, have you done enough exercise? You know, that's the program you put in place, is making sure or hoping that you're getting enough out of the the exercise that the horses are progressing.
Numbers-wise, Charlie, what would you admit to training at the moment? and what do you actually train?
Look, we will always start the season off about 180, 200, and that's it. You know, there's no extras coming in. That's our number. Needless to say, as the season progresses, then the numbers will come down. Sort of, as I say, sort of wheat from the chaff. And so yeah, that's the figure we're at. Now, stood here today, we've got about 140 in training, because needless to say, some have retired and some have moved on that haven't unfortunately met the expectations, and so yeah, the numbers will reduce this time of year, and we will be waiting for the yearling allocation to come out in the coming weeks, and then restocking again from December onwards, really.
And I'm guessing Notable Speech is kind of, in some ways, the star of the show at this minute. But for those watching this around the world, what are the 3 or 4 horses that you just look at and think, oh, there's something big in that horse right now?
Well, look, obviously, as you quite rightly say, Notable Speech there, just off the back of his Woodbine Mile win, but he's obviously a Guineas and a Sussex winner, and all being well, we'll be heading for the Breeders' Cup Mile there. You can't get away from every morning when you see him go past. He might be getting older, but Rebel's Romance, he's still, you know, if you can't get excited by or enjoy watching a horse like him, we really are in the wrong sport, because, like I say, what he's achieved and to the level he's been held throughout his career is, you know, I don't think we've seen it in a flat horse, to be honest. The difference between him and, I'll be honest, I'd be putting it out there as you know, by the likes of Yates and horses like that. He's held that Group 1 form or Grade 1 form still at the age of 7, and he's still going out there and performing at the highest level. He's never dropped below a Group 2, I don't think. Stand to be corrected for I don't know how many years now, and being competitive, most importantly. And people have asked me, when will he retire? I said, you know, he will tell us when he wants to retire. As long as he's going out there and training and enjoying it and showing the enthusiasm on the track, we'll allow the horse to carry on and enjoy his life doing so. We're very lucky in what we've got here, and I do feel that I've often said many a time, more people that have the opportunity of seeing the facilities here will start to realise that that's the last thing I can use as an excuse if we don't have a winner.
Let's recap on all the rest of the action from around the world. Kicking things off in Korea.
Though down the outer, Changcheng Glory with half a furlong to go. From Dick Tayan is Dick Tayan from Changcheng Glory, and Dick Tayan has won the Korea Cup.
Wild Desert is out there on the extreme outside with Argos. Argos, Wild Desert and 2 Out Hero. It's Argos in front, and Argos has just won. And in the centre, Korsieva Loche. On the inside, La Coulas. On the outer, Hot Mash. Korsieva Loche. Korsieva Loche is going to win the Natalma Stakes. Very impressively remains undefeated.
So, Charlie, we know that the Breeders' Cup has massive meaning to you. First of all, Outstrip, your first big winner since you started training. 11 Breeders' Cup winners, but 2021 will go down as, I imagine, a Breeders' Cup you'll never forget. Modern Games, Space Blues, your beer, all bang, bang, bang.
Modern Games will win, and Space Blues has won the Breeders' Cup Mile. It is your beer and William Buick.
Modern Games was extraordinary. He was a non-runner, then he was a runner. You done a runner. Then we had to get you back, and then he went and won. Just as a trainer through that whole experience, what's going through your head?
There was a lot of confusion going on. To be fair to the gate team there at Del Mar, he just opened up the front to allow the horse to come out, unbeknown to the starter. So I think that's just where the breakdown in communication had started. As you quite rightly say, I sort of turned and I was gone. I do believe you sent me a text actually to say you better come back, because I was actually in the queue to jump into a car and make my way home, and literally had just come through the archway there, going out onto the track, and the horse was being reinstalled into the gates, and before we knew it,
They're off for the juvenile turf. With 1 furlong to run, Grafton Street to catch. Modern Games on the outside. Modern Games will win the juvenile turf.
it was very satisfying the following year for him to go back and then win the Breeders' Cup Mile, and for him to be applauded into the winner's circle, which he richly deserved, and deserved obviously 12 months earlier as well.
I guess he was around in a season where you had one or two others that were almost higher profile, but ultimately you could almost say he ended up almost the best of everything. It was a weird season.
Yeah, for sure. As we all know, Del Mar Breeders' Cup is they're great occasions, but you've got to have a lot of lady luck with you.
The relationship you have with William Buick is clearly something very special. I've read a feature recently where you said you've never had a bad word. I mean, come on, Charlie, surely you've said, what the hell were you doing at least once? But Space Blues in the Breeders' Cup Mile in 2021 was just given a peach by Buick.
William had so much confidence in that horse. I mean, if ever there was, William's had, great relationships with a lot of horses, but he particularly loved that horse, and whenever he got on him, you could see the horse lit up as well. He was happy.
Here comes Space Blues, moving up alongside with 1 furlong to go. And Space Blues has won the Breeders' Cup Mile.
It's easy to get sucked into, especially sometimes from a European's perspective. We can get drawn into being on the pace. I feel we've learned down through the years that, the pace is so different, obviously, compared to Europe, but we have to work a bit harder to be up on that pace in America.
And at that same meeting, Yabir became your first Breeders' Cup turf winner. I mean, Yabir will not be the greatest horse you have ever trained, but in some ways you could say it's almost one of your greatest achievements to win a Breeders' Cup turf with Yabir. Or am I being a bit unfair on Yabir?
No, to be fair, he was a character, as you know.
He was, wasn't he? I used to call him a galloping giraffe.
Yeah.
But he was a galloping giraffe with a lot of ability.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They're off in the Breeders' Cup turf. And down the center of the course is Yabir. It is Yabir and William Buick to win the turf.
I have to say, I've never seen William pull up so tired in a race.
Are you riding everything? I don't know.
I mean, he pulled his arms out the whole way, for half of the race, and then he's had to push and shove for the second half of the race, and then he couldn't pull him up. And I recall William coming back, obviously elated with having won the race, but just looked exhausted.
How do you feel at the end of a treble like that? Is it yeah, I'm Charlie Appleby, or is it thank God?
I'll never forget, we left and went back to the hotel to get ready to get on the plane that evening. I just said to Will, I said, we ought to really, we're both getting a bit older now, start to sort of sit back and sort of enjoy it and sort of take on board what's been achieved, because to be honest about the years where we've been fortunate enough to walk away with 3 winners at a Breeders' Cup, I mean, it is fairy tale stuff, really.
Yeah. That's just sport at the top level, isn't it? If you want to be at the top level, it is like a hamster wheel.
For sure, exactly. And I think sometimes if you sit there and look at it and pat yourself on the back too much, you become complacent. Whereas, I always feel that it's been instilled into us here at the operation is drive to succeed and keep pushing those boundaries.
Yeah, Del Mar 2021, Modern Game Space Blues and Yabir. And just in case, Charlie, no one did pat you on the back. Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Matt. I love hearing Charlie Appleby reflect on the 2021 Breeders' Cup. I remember those 2 days at Del Mar vividly, and actually standing nearby Charlie as he got his 3rd victory of the weekend. He almost had this look of disbelief, but he knows exactly what he's doing and primes his horses so well for the Breeders' Cup. I should say the same for his fan favorite in Rebels Bromance, who just scored his 9th Grade 1 victory in the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic and seems primed for a 3-peat in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Now, speaking of the Breeders' Cup and the Win and You're In action, let's check out what's happened recently. At Kentucky Downs and the Kentucky Turf Cup, it was Old Crazy Bone, who was claimed for $100,000, wins a $2.5 million race, and finds himself with a spot in the Breeders' Cup Turf.
Flavian Pratt on Old Crazy Bone takes the Turf Cup and takes it comprehensively with
the Princess Rooney at Gulfstream Park. Hull and Ice secured herself a spot in the Filly and Mare Sprint for trainer Safi Joseph. It was actually the same route the last year's winners took to get to the Breeders' Cup.
Hull and Ice! Hull and Ice, a dominant winner of the Princess Rooney.
In the City of Hope Mile at Santa Anita, back-to-back City of Hope miles for Johannes. Defended his title there underneath Umberto Rispoli for trainer Tim Yakteen.
And he storms to the front for a back-to-back score in the City of Hope Mile.
In the Goodwood Stakes, it's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Lightly raced Nevada Beach scored for trainer Bob Baffer underneath the Hall of Famer Mike Smith. Bob saying he's very much so looking forward to getting this runner to Del Mar for the Classic.
And it's a defining moment for Nevada Beach as he wins the Grade 1 Goodwood.
In the Vosburg, it was a good story. Patriot Spirit found himself into the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He dueled on the early lead, drew clear in the stretch to give trainer Michael Campbell just his second Breeders' Cup starter.
Patriot Spirit is almost there. Patriot Spirit wins the Vosburg presented by Army Mule.
And in the Zenyatta Stakes, Cavalieri, she remained undefeated, but not without a little bit of drama. Hopped at the start, gave the others a head start. It didn't matter when all was said and done.
Cavalieri, an enormous win in the Zenyatta, punches a first-class ticket to the Breeders' Cup Distaff.
Plenty of exciting stateside action, but next month you are in for a treat. We have a plethora of win and jury in action, the final opportunity to secure the spot in the starting gate for the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. It is oh so close, but until then, let's get back to the Godolphin headquarters with Matt and Charlie Appleby and hear a few more of his favorite Breeders' Cup memories.
So we've looked forward a lot, but now I want to go back. Charlie, they say never go back, but we're going to go back. Breeders' Cup memories. Can you remember when the Breeders' Cup first registered with the app?
Pay and they're off in the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Royal Academy, and obviously I was, working for Lester and Susan at that time.
Royal Academy and Lester Pickett are 6 lengths off the lead, but they're launching their rally now.
When Lester won on Royal Academy, that was my first real vivid memory of a Breeders' Cup.
Lester Pickett flailing away at Royal Academy. It's all Greek to me toward the inside. Here's the wire. Head bobbing finish.
It was a great race to watch, as well as all the history behind of obviously the great man himself, and to win the race at his age after what he'd been through was a moment I won't ever forget anyway, for sure.
What about as a trainer? Is your first Breeders' Cup winning moment the one that always just sticks there?
I think it will always be, of course, Outstrip winning there, going there with the one runner. So we went and got Big Money Mike Smith got into the saddle that day, and I vividly remember sort of legging him up and thought, do I give Mike instructions? No, I said, Mike, just ride him as you find him. And I never forget watching the race down the back there, and we're sort of out the back. I'm thinking, maybe I should have just told Mike to go forward on him, being a European horse.
Bobby's kitten digs in. Giovanni Boldini. Outstrip is closing on the far outside. Outstrip to win it.
He came back and he said, always at it there, never worried, And I thought, my God, that's, those sort of people go around those tracks blindfolded and know exactly where they need to be.
The Breeders' Cup has created great moments, great horses we'll never forget. But if Rebels Romance did win 3 Breeders' Cup turfs, I mean, forget about Outstrip and that first Breeders' Cup. I mean, that will be a legacy like Goldacova.
Rebels Romance, a Breeders' Cup winner again.
That's something no one will ever forget. 3 Breeders' Cup turfs.
No, for sure, and especially with a horse like him that's not just done Breeders' Cup turf. He's been, Hong Kong, and it was great to see him winning at Royal Ascot this year. It'll be very emotional, to be brutally honest. If people say to me, "Do you get emotional?" But if you were lucky enough to go and win a 3rd Breeders' Cup, you probably might see me getting a bit more.
Tears?
Well, I wouldn't say, but I would love him. If there's one horse I'd really want to go and win a Breeders' Cup with, it's him. 100%.
In the Classic, Nevada Beach stamped his ticket for the feature race on Breeders' Cup Saturday. Old Crazy Bone is joined by Courmo's Delacroix in the field for the very exciting looking Longines turf. In the distaff, Cavalieri won impressively at Santa Anita to throw her hat in the ring to face the females. Notable speech continued Charlie's successful Tilted Canadian races. He goes into the Fanjul Mile along with Johannes. Self-improvement might be a rare Hong Kong train chance at Breeders' Cup in the sprint, along with Patriot Spirit. So next month's episode is when we get the last of the win and you're in Breeders' Cup action. After that, It's just fasten your seatbelts and we're nearly there. Those 2 magnificent days at Del Mar just around the corner. But as I say, we still got some to bring you. We'll go to the Arc, of course. I think it's 5 winning your in races at the Arc de Triomphe meeting at Longchamp. So all the best of the sport from there. We go to the 4 meeting at Keeneland, and there's also Santa Anita and Aqueduct. And there's one more thing you shouldn't forget, because all the European action really culminates on Champions Day at Ascot. It's all part of the fun on the road to Del Mar.